Some police officers are coming out and advocating for marijuana to be legal.
Others are taking a stand that legalizing pot could be one of our worst social mistakes. Fox 2's Chris Hayes sat down with two active duty officers who sit at opposite ends while carrying out the same mission to serve and protect. Chris.
Sandy and Rafer, one of the most recent vocal advocates for legalizing pot is the police chief in a small town in Lincoln County, Missouri. He's with an organization called LEAP, Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. On the other side of the issue is a lieutenant who works narcotics 40 miles south in Franklin County.
When you open that door, it's not a marijuana cigarette, it's not a joint. You're opening a whole new world of THC that Colorado can't even come close to getting its arms around. It's being quoted as one of the biggest social mistakes they've ever made.
Lieutenant Jason Grellner is talking about Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper, who openly questioned his state's decision to legalize recreational pot use. Grellner is vice president of the National Narcotics Officers Association's coalition.
What we hear from the other side is, don't worry about it. People who smoke marijuana just sit around their house and smoke. They don't get in their cars and go out. Well, that's not what's happening in Colorado.
He points to stories like 16-year-old Chad Britton, who died after being struck by a driver reportedly high on pot. The government this month released a report on the impact of legalization in Colorado. It highlights increases in marijuana-impaired driving, a more than 56% higher rate of youth marijuana use, and a significant increase in marijuana-related emergency room visits.
We're seeing people taking edibles and then being involved in horrible critical incidents. We've got college students that are diving to their deaths. 19-year-old
Levi Tamba jumped to his death in Denver after eating a marijuana cookie advertised to have 6.5 servings of THC. Grellner says it's an example of why pot today is nothing like what most people might think.
You would have to smoke 30 or more pot cigarettes from the 1970s at one time to get the amount of THC that you're now getting.
At some point you have to say, as a law enforcement officer, maybe we should use those resources for other things and put our efforts in towards things that could be helping the community in a better way.
Small-town police chief Larry Kirk says police departments should answer to taxpayers who've been funding a multi-billion-dollar-a-year war on drugs.
We're using a lot of resources and we're not seeing the effect that we were told we would see. So maybe we should address that money with mental health issues, with actual true addiction issues, and stop gelling and criminalizing people just for making a responsible decision.
Chief Kirk says he does not want to advertise where he works, but he says he's not hiding it either. He's commanded New Athens, Illinois PD and now works in Old Monroe, Missouri. He says he's not speaking out so he can smoke pot.
My religion and my faith is LDS, Latter-day Saint Mormon, so I don't consume alcohol, I don't consume tobacco or even caffeine for that matter. But I don't go around exposing or espousing the fact that we should make that illegal.
Chief Kirk says he still enforces the laws he does not agree with.
So I think the idea that police officers should remain silent, somehow just be reactive and not be able to speak out about it, I think is silly. Just like in the 1960s during racial strife in the South, instead of hosing black Americans and sicking dogs on them, maybe more officers could spoke out in regards to racial justice.
That's where you'll find agreement in the concern for social consequences and equal justice. Lieutenant Grellner says legalizing pot will hurt those struggling most.
Where do you think these dispensaries are going to be? Do you think you're going to find these dispensaries lining the streets of Ladue and Chesterfield? Or do you think that they'll pop up mainly, or starting off at least, in poor socioeconomic areas around the region?
Grellner and Kirk also agree on the need to improve how we treat addiction. Sandy.
And Chris, didn't Grellner say last week on your piece about the convicts serving life for prison that maybe we should consider turning jail beds into treatment beds?
Yeah, and we'd like to hear more about what you think, and you can weigh in on fox2now.com. We've got that study. We've got the links to both websites.
All right, Chris, thanks so much. Really interesting. Also on fox2now.com, we want to hear from you on our web poll. Should marijuana be legal in Missouri, whether it's for recreation, medicinal, or not at all? Voice your choice at fox2now.com.